Episode 9 of the Bobcast, and we are talking swimming. Field dance alongside Coach Brian Christensen. Today's Bobcast presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. Coach, men finished first, women finished third at the Chatham Invitational. As there's another successful Bobcat swim meet this year, what did you like about what you saw at Chatham?
Well, this is first of all, thanks for having me here.
Of
So we're
course.
presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. When do we get
Yes.
some real sponsors? When are we going to be like presented by Taco Bell and the Dr Pepper halftime show?
Well, as much as we do appreciate the endorsements of Taco Bell and Dr. Pepper, it's up for advertising.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works exactly. They'll have to go through the athletic department. But as of now, we just say Bobcat Sports Network, get a little
Nice.
promotion. Yeah.
Well, that's a great sports network. I think one of the best in the region. I'm a loyal follower. What was your question?
The men's finished first. The women finished third at Chatham. What did you like about what you saw in Chatham?
That's like getting off topic immediately.
Yes. It's all right.
Yeah, I liked a lot. This team in the pool right now is doing a lot of the right things. Our practices have been pretty awesome last week, and I could tell we were gonna have a good meet. It's based on the way that we have been practicing the pool and the work we've been putting in, and just kind of attitude that we've had has been really good. Um, we've had like I think an edge and a confidence that we didn't have last year. Which is really exciting to see. I kind of had a big talk about just body language and how I can pretty much read how someone's gonna perform by just looking at them behind the blocks. If they are loose and look confident, with their shoulders back and their head up and look like they have a plan, they're ready to go, and they're gonna do pretty well. And we had a lot more of that than the alternate, which is like kind of the slumping, unsure of themselves, kind of. You can see when someone is tired or scared, and we didn't have a lot of that, so ended up with some pretty good swims.
I can do that as an interviewer. I can read
Yeah,
body language for an interviewee.
yeah.
Yeah.
How am I presenting right now?
It's not looking good.
I know. I guess so.
We'll have to work on that.
Try working my eye contact and my authoritative
Well, your
voice.
posture is you're looking scared and tired right now.
Do I look
so
scary and tired?
you
All
do.
right. Well, it is Monday morning. It's
Junior
always scary on Monday morning.
Junior Anthony Giuseppetti, first year James Harmon, and junior Brady Peterson all won 3 individual events, while sophomore Luke Russell took 2 wins as well. What did you see from them that was really encouraging? And you talk about this confidence. Were they showcasing that?
Yeah, we'll start with Anthony, who really had the swim of the meet in this 200 free, and he's like, Coach, I want to go. I think some kid from Notre Dame College went like a 149 the other week in the 200 free, and Anthony was like, I want to go one. He originally said 147. He's like, I want to go 147 today,
Yeah.
and I was like, you ain't going to 147. Your best time's like a 146. Like, it's crazy, and but I was like, hey, just swim your race and have some fun with it and see what you can do. I ended up doing 148, which is really special. I don't think I've ever had anybody go 148 in October, like in my
Wow.
career, which is amazing.
Yeah.
He had a really good race, but I think a lot of that was him, like he's like Babe Ruth-esque. He's like calling his shot here
That's
and then
right.
going after it and then succeeding, which was really cool. He's doing some really exciting things. I think he is going to be in shape for a really good season. James Harmon, I think, he held his breaststroke together really well. Off the relay, he had some. I think they won it, but they definitely like a flawed win. He had some trouble with his breakouts, and his walls were kind of sloppy. And he just got better as the meet went along. I'm kind of was telling him, like, listen, this is basically race practice right now. This is our second meet. It's the first time he's doing a lot of these events, and he did an incredible job of just like adjusting to screw ups and kind of not letting one thing kind of bring him down and learn from his mistakes, and he just kept going well. And then Brady has really transformed his stroke. I've been very impressed with him. Almost like some of the biggest flaws we kept harping on him last year. It's like he's finally getting, and he's doing really well. He's swimming way better. He was not doing these times last year. It's amazing to watch. So it was really exciting.
You talk about the confidence, and you see that showcased here these first 2 meets. Do you think that's just come from familiarity with the coaching staff, and now they're a little more comfortable in your system? Do you think just having a year under their belt?
That's probably a factor. I think I think it's always scary during transition time. You're not necessarily sure if you should like trust this new guy that just arrived.
Right.
and it's telling you some things that are pretty different than
Mm-hmm.
maybe they had in the past. But I think last year largely worked, and they kind of have that greater trust, which I think is a big thing. But a lot of it just comes from themselves. A lot of kids come out of a race and like, hey, I think I left some speed on the table in that, or I was afraid to go out fast and stuff. And it's like, well, you just gotta kind of learn that you are better than you think you are, and to get after that race as fast as they can. Um, so I think yeah, it comes with time for sure, and just knowing that you can do. It's like yeah, I think they can be great, but they gotta
Yeah.
believe that they think they can be great,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting there for sure.
Mm-hmm. The men's also swept 5 events: the 200 freestyle, 100-yard backstroke, 200-yard butterfly, and the 200-yard backstroke. How are these units just coming together here early in the season? You've spoken about how well some of the individuals have done. What about these teams?
Yeah. Well, I think that it helps that we really didn't have good competition this meet. We were the only people in those events, which is why we swept. But at the same time, we're putting up 3 men in the two fly, and when the other teams can't,
Mm-hmm.
um, which isn't necessarily a good sign. I think it's like we're still trying to find someone to actually challenge us, which is weird to say because I don't think we're like a very good. We're not like a high ranked supreme
Right.
like destroying everybody D2 team.
Sure.
I think we'll definitely come down to earth pretty soon. But it's nice riding a pretty good wave right now.
Well, this has to be good for the confidence of these units. I mean, even like you said, if they're going to run into some really good teams, they can look back and okay, oh, we've done well previously. Let's translate that to this.
Yeah, I hope so. It ends up being a good way for just them to like get in a routine, know what they do, know how they need to warm up, kind of know what they are capable of, and really, it's like a lane's a lane. In swimming, it's not like you're adjusting to a bigger guy hitting you in football
Or
or
like a surface.
Yeah,
Yeah, playing surface.
exactly.
It's
Or,
all
or
water.
it's not like this. It's not like the baseball fields at
Yeah.
West Virginia Wesleyan are 10 feet farther in right field or anything. It's like, um, you know, it's all. It's just you just gotta go fast and control your own destiny in your lane here.
Moving to the women's side, five different swimmers finished with a second place finish. How was their performance in comparison to Gallaudet earlier this season?
It was largely very good. A lot of people dropped time even just from that meet. Like Maya Wilson did the same event. She dropped like 2 seconds in her 200 free. I think Sydney Koval did about the same in her 100 fly, and that's a good sign. Where I think we had some great efforts at Gallaudet. We're having the same efforts here, and we're doing a little bit better, which is a good sign that we're kind of on the right track. Aubrey Morris, who had kind of like an okay meet at Gallaudet, had like a really good meet at
Mm.
Chatham, which was nice to see. I think she was like a little loose and confident, and it turned in some pretty good swims. And with her, we kind of bench her and the other returners. We kind of benchmark from where they were last year, and we were just like phenomenally better, which is always a good sign.
Senior Becca Marsh led the way with a second place finish in both the 50-yard freestyle with a 27:67 time and the 100 freestyle with a 59:29. She also took third in the 500 freestyle with a 5:49 time. How has she been looked at on this team as one of the elder statesmen, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
upperclassmen, for leadership or just kind of an example for maybe the younger swimmers?
Yeah, it's always an interesting time when Becca, who is really a pure distance swimmer, scores higher in the 50 than the 500,
Yeah.
which is, I was like, what? I think she surprised herself in that 50. She was like, oh, wow, I did really good. I'm like, yeah, you're a good swimmer. Um, and that was good. And the 500, it was great. She just had this other girl was kind of running her down, but Becca held her off, and she had a touch up by like 8/100ths in a 500 in a 5 minute 40-second race, which is like um, really pretty wild. But I think her work ethic is pretty unquestioned. This team kind of knows that she's always gonna like just gobble up as many yards as she can, and um, it is a good role model to watch and kind of look up to, and people can see what they can do. Um, Swimming, she's pretty much a pure freestyler, but swimming all lengths. She swam every possible free event and did really well.
You've mentioned Aubrey Morris earlier in the Bobcast today. She swam to a runner-up finish in the 200 freestyle with a time of 2:11:35, and third in the 50-yard butterfly with a 30:31 time. How did she look? You kind of mentioned about how she improved from Gallup, but how did she look? I guess in terms of overall performance in comparison.
Her pace in the 200 was really good. I think her fly, she really is more of a mid-distance kind of person. I think we got to get her tempo up a little bit in the 50. 50 was pretty good for her. I think whether she likes it or not, she's more of a 200 fly person. I forget if she listens to this. Some people on the team listen to it, and
Oh yeah.
other alumni do. And if you do listen to it,
Hello.
team team people out there, you will get insights as to what you'll be swimming.
Mm.
And there's a lot of 200 flies in this girl's future.
This is behind the scenes. It's
That's
behind the
right.
curtain.
All you need to do is click that YouTube link,
That's right.
and you can learn all of our secrets.
All the Bobcats, www.frostburgsports.com, and you'll see it. It'll take you to the YouTube, and you can get the full Bobcast or the individual segments if the coaches
Yeah.
put them out on social media, which I think you do.
They pick like the longest letters for those URLs. Like W. It's like really hard to say.
Yeah.
Why didn't they say like BBB? That'd be fun.
No, I don't know. This is much like the same with the advertisements. I don't have an answer for you here.
Just,
Coach.
I guess World Wide Web, right? But
Right.
you know.
The Bobcast is set up as a Q&A, but usually I'm asking the Q's,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you have the answers.
This is where my mind goes day to day.
It wanders.
It's just an awkward thing to have to say WW. I don't think anyone even says it anymore. You can just say, everyone knows. I think it's implied.
YouTube.
Yeah,
It's like Google.
yeah,
YouTube it.
yeah.
We've gone off track here. First year Anna Hughes was second in the 50 backstroke. Senior Megan Culbertson was second in the 200 backstroke. And graduate student Maria Russo was third in the 50 backstroke. What about their performances was most insightful for you and
Yeah.
your coaching staff?
I think Culbertson was the 200 breaststroke, right?
Did I say that? Yes, breaststroke. Yeah, sorry.
I just wanted to make sure I was watching the same meet.
Maybe I need to listen to Bobcast to hear where
Oh
they're
yeah,
swimming.
yeah. No, that's for sure. Anna had a really nice meet. She was kind of coming off the flu this week, which is rough.
Flu game.
Yeah, flu game. That's right. She's just like straight game 6 here. And so she did really well. I think better than she probably thought she did. She probably was on a little taper with missing some practices, but I'm excited about her. I feel like she also doesn't realize that she's actually turning into one of our top girls. As a freshman, which is pretty cool. And Megan, her breaststrokes really come together. I was telling her I think 200 breaststroke is a good event for her as well. Something that I don't think she wants to hear either. She wants to be a sprinter person, but we're good at 200s. Just her stroke is kind of long and flat, which is good.
Write that down, Megan,
That's right.
if you're listening.
And then Maria did really nice. She's definitely really doing us a favor by just swimming. Our graduate student kind of had graduated and had a year of eligibility left, coming back because she missed this team and this sport that much.
Yeah.
And so a lot of her, she obviously took last year off, she has a very untraditional college career, but she's doing great. She has some really good swims, really high effort, and it's always she really brings a maturity that leaks into the rest of the team, which is very nice.
Coach Frostberg returns to the pool on Saturday, November 2nd, with Elizabethtown at Bobcat Natatorium here in Courts PE Center at 1 p.m. First home meet of the season. What are you looking forward to the most?
Really just I like how this camaraderie is developing. I think we are still looking to improve little things. That's probably it. Focusing on some of our details, making sure that we're up to speed with getting all these little things right as we start racing. And kind of seeing what we've been working on in practice being shown in the meet, because otherwise, there's not really a lot of point in practicing if we don't meet swim like it.
Right.
So just kind of staying consistent with that, and as always, make sure we're having fun and we're getting pumped up and having a good time.
What about the idea of just being able to drive home instead of riding a bus? Is that exciting?
I don't know. The bus rides can be fun. It presents a different mentality. it is nice to have like a little bit more time in the day and to not worry about like stopping for meals and stuff. Though we had some great Chipotle. This is basically just going to be a an advertisement podcast. Looking
You
for that.
can't say the business names. We don't have their rights.
I'm looking for that. This is free advertising for Chipotle. It's a great
Presented by
place where you
Chipotle.
can go in. They get you in and out really quick. We got through a ton of kids and very affordable for teens on the go. And
This is a whole ad for Chipotle.
it was great. So it's nice to get some Chipotle in downtown Pittsburgh. This week in Pittsburgh, the Steel City.
That's right. That's right.
Visit Pittsburgh.
City of brotherly love.
That's right. The Big Apple. So,
Well, Coach, as always, it's a pleasure and a joy to interview you here on the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network for now. And thank you for the time. We are looking forward. You can check out the swim meet on frostburgsports.com, and if you go to watch now, you'll see the watch live on Mountain East TV. The swim meet will be there November 2nd.
That's Pepsi presents the Mountain East.
And Brandon Rosso will be on the call as Coach. I know you like these swim meets and you get a chance to be interviewed. But again, thank you for joining us here on the Bobcast.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'll shout out to Sarah and Missy and go Bobcats.
Episode 9 of the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. My name is Fielder Dennis. I'm here with Coach Becky Fletcher. Coach, a split this week as you beat Glenville at home in 3 sets, then lose to Concord in 5 sets on Saturday. What were the differences in the 2 matches?
Just a little bit of consistency. We played really well on Friday night, passed really well. Was able to get our middles going and they had a really successful night, especially Raven. 15 kills on 18 swings is extremely exceptional, especially from somebody who's a second-year volleyball player here at Frostburg and really didn't see the court at all last year.
Right.
So I think she was by far the star of Friday's night. She had just a remarkable night, and I knew she was playing well, and I didn't really quite look at the stats until the very end, and I realized she was playing even a lot better than I thought. So it's a good night.
Just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying about Raven Pratt, how has she just progressed as the season's gone on? Kind of been thrust into a role of being the middle hitter for this team with some injuries. How has she gone on this whole season? She's been really productive here lately.
Raven was a walk-on last year. She walked into our gym and she just came in and had such a desire to learn about the game, and she's extremely coachable. And she works really hard, and she's been lucky enough to have an older senior middle hitter in Biamba who
Right.
just really takes pride in mentoring her. And Biamba sometimes says, "Oh, she's like, well, I told her to hit that spot, so that should be my kill." And so it's been great to see that relationship and in how they help each other develop as teammates. So I think. So that's great, but she also just has not seen as much volleyball where she came from and the speed and just the sheer number of repetitions she's taken in the last year and a half to improve so much. She's hitting the ball hard too, which
She
is
is.
also really helpful. Yeah, it's very fast.
And you notice on the sidelines, at least I have, and against Glenville, no one's more excited for Raven than Biamba when she makes a critical hit. This may be the answer. The answer may be Raven Pratt. But what did you see in the Glenville match that was encouraging that you may not have seen, maybe 3 weeks prior?
Oh, definitely. Raven, I think, has just gotten a lot of confidence out there, and she's really connecting well with both of our setters, which says a lot. So I think just that connection and that ability to get our middle going and know that our team can have multiple hitters have really great nights, and hopefully we can all get them all going at the same time again.
Moving to the Concord match, a 5-set tough loss. What was the difference just going late, looking back in that match?
There were some different things. It was just a little bit of inconsistency. We were really hot at times. They were really cold at times, and I think that if we would have kept playing all night, it probably would have gone back
Right.
and forth for the whole night, just because of some of the hot and cold and the ups and downs of each team. I think Our serve receive was a little bit inconsistent. Our first contact was not as great as it has been. It wasn't bad. It wasn't the only factor, and then we weren't able to put some balls away, which didn't help our cause. We served really aggressively, which helped us stay hot at times. We yeah, it was just one of those nights where I think it could have flipped a coin, and two more points, it might have been our match.
First year Jackie Sterenberg had 14 kills, 16 digs, 4 service aces. She's brought up almost every Bobcast. Was this productivity anticipated coming into the season?
We knew Jackie was a pretty consistent player, and she's always been a player that's been pretty low error. The thing we weren't sure about is if she could adjust to the height of the game. She's not super tall, but she jumps reasonably well. So yeah, I think she surprised us in a good way. I think that we hoped she had those capabilities, and we saw a lot of them. But she has definitely exceeded our expectations, especially as a first year on the court.
This week you're at West Lib and then against nationally ranked Wheeling on the road. What do these teams bring to the table? And now in your second go-around, what do you want to see that's a little different from the first time?
I think we played them pretty early in the season, especially Wheeling. We weren't throwing up that great of a block at the beginning of the season. We talk a lot about how our first-year athletes, that's the one skill that they maybe have to learn the most about, because they're not seeing hits and a speed of an offense that consistently throughout their careers. So I think we're doing that a lot better now. We might not be having as many blocks, but we're not getting tooled as much, and we're allowing our defense to do a really great job behind us by setting a much better block. So I think that's going to help us. I think we're serving more aggressively than we were at the beginning of the season, which when that happens, teams automatically slow down their offense if they're not passing in system all of the time. So I think those two things for us especially are going to help us improve dramatically against some of the top teams in our conference.
Coach Becky Fletcher, thanks for the time and looking forward to this week.
Thank you.
Back here in the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. My name is Fielder Dennis. We were talking football with head coach Delane Fitzgerald. Coach, 7th straight victory, 42-12 over Wheeling. What are your thoughts on the team's performance?
We were flat again, same as 2 weeks ago at Wesleyan. There's something that probably needs to be said about the one-day trips, and you're on a bus for 2.5 hours. You leave here at 7 a.m. and you're on a bus for 2.5 hours, and you get off a bus and you have hour and 45 minutes to get ready to play a football game. It takes something out of your intensity, it takes something out of your legs. The entire trip, it's pouring down, raining, and the bus is going up the West Virginia mountains at 35 miles an hour, and I'm not an excuse maker, so I'm going to stop making excuses. But we came out and we're offensively not very motivated, not very passionate, not very intense on offense. Our defense was able to hold it together early on until we could get something going on offense. And our defense, other than one drive in the first half, our defense played well.
2 good drives early on the ball game resulted in turnovers deep in Wheeling territory, and you mentioned being flat. Is that just what happened in those first 2 drives for the offense? They just came out a little lackluster?
Yeah, the quarterback thinking too much, and him trying to think instead of just playing football, and he threw a really bad ball, and he got intercepted on the 1-yard line. And then a couple drives later, we're down there, and Gavin rips off a 15-yard run in the red zone, fumbles the ball on the 1-yard line again. So just decent drives that didn't end well.
Gavin Levant had a stellar day other than the fumble, 123 yards rushing, a long of only 14. How does he wear down a defense with just nickel and dime type of runs?
Yeah, he made mentally and physically tougher than a lot of kids in this conference are. And Gavin's downhill, and Gavin likes the contact, so he likes the physicality. Gavin weighs 225 pounds, which is not fun for any 180, 175-pound DB to tackle. And Gavin probably outweighs most of the linebackers in this conference also. But you're right, the repetitive having to tackle Gavin probably wears on some people. Now, on Saturday, that's not the worst I've ever seen Gavin play, but it's not the best I've seen him play either. He was somewhere in the middle on Saturday.
Will Brunson had back-to-back touchdown throws late in the first half. Do you think he just feels more comfortable orchestrating those 2-minute type drills?
Yeah, Gavin didn't have Gavin. Will didn't have a great week last week when the football was wet during practice, and he didn't have a great day on Saturday when the football was wet. Will needs to stop wanting to call plays and stop wanting to overthink and overanalyze every darn thing on the football field and actually execute the play call. Actually, go out and play and execute the play call and quit overthinking things.
The team rushed for 163 yards, and Isaiah Horn showed some big play potential behind Lovat. How does his run style contrast with Gavin, and how can you utilize that in offense?
Yeah, Isaiah's done a nice job on special teams for us for 3 years now, returning kicks, starting to get a little more playing time at the running back position. Isaiah's faster than Gavin, obviously. Isaiah makes a sharper one-step cut than Gavin does. And Isaiah has the potential to hit big plays. Isaiah can rip off a 50, 60, 80-yard run on you. Whereas Gavin's going to have a little more difficult time doing that. Now, Isaiah needs to practice better than he practices. He's not a big fan of Monday through Friday now. That's not his favorite time of the week. Whereas Gavin shows up every day and works pretty hard in practice, so there's a little difference there. I like Isaiah a lot. He's one of the more fun young men to conversate with and communicate with during the week because he's a fun-loving kid. But his practice habits need to pick up, and he needs to be better in practice because he has the potential to be something special on the field.
Young receivers got a lot of playing time this weekend. Devon Holton had 5 catches, 118 yards, and a touchdown. Jawan Rorell caught a touchdown as well. How are these young pass catchers, how do they keep stepping up when they're called upon and making big plays?
Yeah, Devon's not a young one. Devon's a junior now. Devon's played a lot of college football, but he had his best game of the 3 years that he's played in college. He had his best game on Saturday, and good for him and good for us. If he didn't step up on Saturday, we were going to be in trouble. Now, on Jawan Morrell, we brought Jawan in out of Milford Mill High School in Baltimore, and didn't have a ton of expectations for Jawan coming into camp. He has been a pleasant surprise, and long story short, if Jawan will continue to work at football and make playing wide receiver and being a good football player a priority, he'll be special going forward. He has a chance to have a lot of success at wide receiver the rest of this year and then the next 3 years.
Defensively, 4 interceptions and then 1 more on the 2-point attempt by Wheeling. The defense was full of ball-hawking players Saturday. Was that in the game plan going into the matchup with Wheeling?
Ball-hawking players. You like them lightning terms, don't you, Fielder?
Oh, yeah.
Love them. For those of y'all at home, Fielder still hadn't shaved or gotten a haircut now. So, yeah, we are dead in the middle of the winter scruff.
That's right.
I like it.
It's getting colder.
You're going to fit in these parts in a couple of weeks here. You talked about the defense. I said it again. Our run defense wasn't what it should have been on Saturday, and Wheeling might have ran for a season high in rushing yards on Saturday, which is disappointing. Outside of that, giving up the rushing yards and then that drive in the first half, we played pretty well on defense. I like that term, ball hawking. So, yeah, we had some DBs that stepped in front of passes and made good plays on Saturday. Wayne Palmer's toe-tapping interception on the sideline, doesn't look like much. It's an interception for a 0-yard gain, but it was a really good play on his part. And then we had the 2 pick sixes. Duron stepped in front of that pass, which was a very athletic play on his part, and returned it for a touchdown in the first half. And then at the end of the game, Xavier Campbell, he steps in front of that pass and got a lot of great blocking. But Xavier can run and was able to return that one for a touchdown. Good for us.
You mentioned the pick 6 by Duron Aku. He's just another really quality linebacker in Coach Kelling's arsenal. How do you find playing time for all these productive linebackers?
During the course of a game, the offense is going to run between 60 and 80 plays these days. So there's a lot of plays to be had for our defensive guys in rotating. And then all of those guys that we just talked about, they all play a role on special teams. And during the course of a game, you're going to play between 20 and 30 plays on special teams. So they have those plays too. Those guys actually get a lot more opportunity to play than say, an offensive player or a wide receiver. Yeah, and so a wide receiver and a running back, for the most part, aren't going to play a whole lot on teams, but the linebackers can play a lot on special teams. Duron's a good player. If Duron can ever get the things off the field, straight. If he can do the right things off the field and the right things in the classroom, Duran can be a very good football player.
The other player to get the interception in Saturday's matchup was Avery Thurman. And you've mentioned this. About the defense keeping the team in the game? How did the defense's performance keep the team afloat with a struggling offense on Saturday? What were they doing that was just really impactful?
Playing hard. They were playing hard, and they were executing the play calls. And I mean, Fielder, real simple. They were keeping them out of the end zone. So they were keeping them out of the end zone. They continued to get the football back for the offense until the offense woke up.
This week, the nationally ranked Notre Dame Falcons are in town for what's shaping up to be the game of the year in the Mountain East Conference. What are you looking forward to in this matchup the most?
Yeah, we're playing the de facto conference championship game here on Saturday. How about that one now? For the D3 team, and
I didn't think I'd be saying that.
A lot of people didn't. So not a lot of people outside of our locker room, with the exception of our coaching staff and players that believed in us early. That parents, we've got a special parent group that follows us around. Hey, the stat day. Y'all like those stats? We had more fans in the stands than Wheeling did on Saturday. So hats off to our parents and our fans for traveling on Saturday in a cold, rainy day in Wheeling, West Virginia. But outside of our parents and our close fan group and our players, there's not a lot of people that thought that we were going to make a run at a conference title this year, but we did. Special group of young men in this football program that believe in each other and play really hard with and for each other, and I'm proud to be their coach, proud to be associated with them. Now, what was your question since I'm finished running my mouth?
What are you most excited for in the matchup with Notre Dame?
I'm too old, been at this too long to get real excited about anything. At Fielder, it doesn't matter if I'm excited. It matters if the young men 18 to 22 years old are excited. What's exciting about Saturday? An opportunity to compete with the number 6 team in the country. They made the Final Four last year, and they lost to the national champs by 6 or 7. So they lost to the national champions by 1 score in the Final Four, and then the national champions turn around and win a title game by 30 or 40 points.
Right.
So long story short, they were the second best team in the country last year. They didn't lose anything. They returned almost every player on defense and almost every player on offense. I think the quarterback graduated for them last year, and other than that, they return all the players on offense. It is exciting to line up for 3 hours on Saturday and show that you belong and find out exactly where you're at against the best in Division II football.
One of the exciting players and returners for Notre Dame is the nation's best runner at tailback, Jaleel McLaughlin. Easier said than done, but how do you subdue a player of his abilities in terms of making big plays, along with the wide receiver Marvell Ross, who also is a very deep ball threat and a fast player as well?
Yeah, Jaleel McLaughlin and Marvell Ross are future pro players. I don't know which professional league they'll play in, but they run well enough and make enough plays that the XFL, the Canadian League, the NFL, they're going to play in one of them. Heck, they may play in all 3 of them. So, but anyhow, if those 2 guys get behind us on Saturday, we're in trouble because nobody's going to catch them. Nobody in the country's caught them in the last 2 years. Nobody's going to catch them on Saturday. Dynamic players. So, and then we laughed a couple of weeks ago. Jaleel McLaughlin rushed for 204 yards against Charleston. It actually hurt his average for the year because he was averaging about 250 a game, and they held him to 203, 204, so it knocked his average down a little bit. Finley held him to 140. To 120. When you get held to 140 yards in a game, it's your second worst game of the year. You're a pretty good football player. Now, what gets left out in all that is they got a bunch of big offensive and defensive linemen on that offensive side. Those linemen do a great job of blocking for Jaleel McLaughlin, and then they do a great job in pass protection, allowing their quarterback time to get the football to Marvell Ross. So a lot of good players on that offense, a lot of good players on that defense. They got a tight end that we'd all like to have, running around 6'7", 6'8", young man that does a nice job for them. So, yeah, good football team. I'm impressed. Looking forward to Saturday. Not very often in life you get an opportunity to do something special, and the young men in our football program have an opportunity to do something really special Saturday.
Coach, final question. What do you want to see from the team on both Saturday and the days leading up to in preparation.
I don't want to see anything different this week than I want to see first, second, third week of the season. Every week's the exact same. Like to see continued progress by our players. Like to see our guys get into the meetings and get into the weight room and get into practice this week and get 1% better per day. There's 150 players on our team. Y'all are tired of hearing me say this, but there's 150 players on our team. If they all get 1% better today, how much better are we at the end of the day?
150%.
Yeah. If they get 1% better again tomorrow, we're 300% better. At the end of the week, if they've done that every day this week, we're over 1,000% better on the week. We'll win the football game. It's the same at Notre Dame. If Notre Dame improves this week, they're going to be successful on Saturday. But if we improve every day this week, we're going to be the team that's successful on Saturday. It's not real flashy. It's not sexy, but it's the way the world works.
Coach, we haven't heard the 1% better very often this year. Thanks for bringing it out here for this game on Saturday. And thank you for the time here on the Bobcast.
Thank you all for having me. Go Bobcats.
Episode 9 of the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. My name is Fielder Dennis alongside Coach Caitlin Thompson. We're talking field hockey, Coach, an off week. A couple of questions here for you. What did you want to accomplish in this time off, and what did you accomplish in this time off?
So we have a few injuries that we're trying to nurse back so that way we can get ready for this busy week that we have. We were able to get Logan Gladden back, which is very exciting for us. We do have a couple more girls who are still out for the first part of the week. So that kind of stinks, but the main focus was just getting back some of those injuries and making sure that our team was healthy to play these 4 games in 7 days.
How do you balance the rest and recovery aspect of a grueling season with getting practice, getting reps, and trying to improve as the season goes on?
Yeah, so just managing the amount of time we're out there practicing. So, maybe our time slot is 2 hours, but if we're not super healthy and, maybe only 10 of our girls are able to practice, then we'll just cut it down to an hour and a half. So the girls are still getting probably the same amount of reps that they would be getting in a 2-hour practice, but since there are 5 girls that are out, we don't need the amount of time that we need. So just kind of again, like you said, trying to balance, making sure that we're staying in shape, making sure that we need to practice what we need to practice, but also making sure that we're staying healthy for our games.
Speaking of games, today you have Mercyhurst on the road. And then later this week, Wednesday, here at home, you host nationally ranked Shippensburg, top 10 in the nation. What do you want to see from the team in today's match and then on Wednesday facing a very formidable foe?
Yeah, so just something we've been struggling a little bit offensively, so definitely want to see a little bit more output of our offense. In that Limestone game, we were up in their circle a decent amount. We just didn't really have much to show for it, so we didn't have the corners, didn't have the shots to show that we were up there in the stats. So want to make sure that we're taking care of that portion when we get our opportunities up in the attacking circle. And just want to see some of the freshmen stepping up. So like I mentioned, have a few injuries of girls that are going to be out, especially in this first part of the week. So just want to see who steps up. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a freshman. It could be an upperclassman that just starts to step up. But we need to see some people stepping up into more of a leadership role and embracing that role within the team.
Who's had a solid week of preparation in their off time?
Yeah, so Emily Hughes has looked pretty great this week. She's probably going to be one that's filling in for Taylor Hackett at center back for us today. So we're looking for her to kind of step it up this week. Gabby Rahuba, she was one that was dealing with an injury, but we've gotten her back, so she's been looking great this week. Sam Coffey, always a great leader for us, so she's been looking great. So definitely looking to those people to kind of lead our team to be successful this upcoming week.
And since you've mentioned the injuries that you've been dealing with here during the late portion of the season, you mentioned Taylor Hackett being replaced. What other shakeups? Do you have any shakeups for the lineup for the upcoming games this week?
Well, we're hoping Alexa Fleming is one of the ones that's also out. We're hoping once we can get her back, to keep throwing Madonna Tigger up into our attacking line. She's been doing a
Hmm.
pretty good job when we have thrown her up there. Um, she's just really aggressive inside the circle. She's the one that assisted our game-winning goal against Converse because of her tenacity when she was on the ball. So um, once we kind of get a little bit more of our starters back, we can push her up into the attacking circle.
And finally, as the season comes to an end here in the next few weeks, what about this year has just really encouraged you for the road ahead?
I think our team has shown a lot of mental toughness. A lot of teams who would be in our predicament would crumble and start to kind of point fingers and blame each other, but our team really has maintained a whole team this year. We've really just been a family this entire time and have pushed through and just stayed together throughout this. We know things that we need to fix going into next year. And we understand that, we have a lot to improve on. However, I think the girls have done a great job of just staying together and being a family in this season.
Coach Caitlin Thompson, thank you for the time. Good luck today at Mercyhurst, and we're looking forward to Wednesday's game against Shippensburg.
Thanks.
Episode on the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. My name is Fielder Dennis here with Coach Keith Burns. Coach, 0-2 this past week at home against West Liberty and Notre Dame. What problems were shown in these two matches last week?
West Liberty was just a poor performance, kind of all around. We missed some opportunities early that could have helped kind of control the game. We didn't defend set pieces. I mean, I think it was 2 corners, a throw-in, and basically a goal that came off a long free kick. Where we just got beat to the ball, didn't track men well, and all 4 goals were scored from inside the 6, and that's just not having the correct mindset to clear your box and desire just to get to the ball first. So yeah, it just wasn't that. I mean, we hadn't really seen that all year from our team. It just kind of happened at the most unfortunate time because we kind of really wanted that one to kind of propel us into these final 4 games, and yeah, it didn't go our way. And then Notre Dame, we battled. I mean, they're probably a better team. They're second in the conference for a reason. We've had 2 close games with them. We had a few chances, but that's the type of game where you're not going to get many. Unfortunately, we had one called back on a questionable offsides and another one offsides that was close when we go back and look. If we had VAR, who knows if it could have gone our way. But I thought that was just a good competitive game. And again, unfortunately, a team that's good in the air got us on a corner kick. So just little things got to be better. Got to be first to the ball. Got to be first up. Can't give these guys clear paths. And we haven't quite learned from our mistakes yet. So it's something we still got to keep working on.
You talked about in the West Liberty match not clearing the ball out of your box, not getting the ball first. You found offense early in that match, but you struggled to hold the defensive end. Was it just a matter of just getting the ball and clearing it in the box?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I knew, I'd fix it. It was like I said, we hadn't seen it all year, so the players that were making mistakes had been guys that had done well attacking the ball and being first to it, and for whatever reason, if something was going on that we didn't know about, personally or physically, it just wasn't their best day, and we paid for it.
Randy Putnam is putting together another stellar season at FSU. How has his game grown as his time has continued here at Frostburg State?
I'd say just confidence, knowing that he can get the job done for us, and he's usually the right guy in the right place, and that's usually not luck. That's knowing where to be, working hard, and putting yourselves in those positions to get those type of goals. One of his strengths coming in was his shot, and we wanted him to always be in range around the box to take shots. And this year it's been more just not tap-ins, but just inside the box again, just being in the right place, picking up loose balls. But that's you're doing the work ahead of time to get there, and just being efficient when you're in front of the goal.
Case in point, he scored in the West Liberty match. He was right there and drove it in the back of the net. In the Notre Dame match, it was a scoreless first half, but an early second half goal was the final result. What about the start of halves is so difficult in the game of soccer? How do you get refocused and re-engaged?
Well, we were engaged from the beginning. We just didn't defend the corner. I mean, it wasn't like other games where maybe we, get a lead and come out flat for 10, 15 minutes and are struggling to get back in it. I mean, I thought our energy was great all game. Yeah, we specifically had the bench kind of up on their feet, trying to keep everyone, just alive and talking them up, and just really trying to make it a good atmosphere for the boys on the field. And I thought we did a great job of that. And even after the goal, I thought we responded well. We didn't go into a tank or anything, and we just we kept fighting. But it's a good team, so it was just it was a hard fought match, and unfortunately we just right off the start. I mean, and you go back, you could say it was probably a corner we shouldn't have given up. Joel probably could have caught it or just let it go out of bounds, but he somehow got in the way of it and it hit him and it rolled out. And we told them at halftime they were too good in the air. We don't want to let them keep launching balls into the box, and we actually corrected a lot of the stupid fouls we were committing in the first half, which gave them a lot of free kick opportunities. And if I'm not mistaken, that may have been their only corner of the half, and they scored on it.
This week you are at Urbana and home for the nationally ranked Charleston Golden Eagles. What do you want to see from the squad in these matches this upcoming week?
I just want to see the same fight and spirit we had against Notre Dame. Obviously, both these teams we've lost to the first time around, so we'd love to try to get one back, but we want to be in a position to at least compete and maybe win the game. And we were in it with Urbana. Obviously, we had a lead and lost it 2-1. Charleston will be a little bit tougher of a road, but we are home for that one. But I just keep harping on the boys about just make somebody earn it. I mean, West Liberty, we didn't think they earned it enough. We kind of gave it to them by not defending our box. Make somebody do something that, okay, when you walk off the field, all right, we lost and there's nothing you can do about it. But just make them earn it. That means we competed for 90 minutes and we gave it our all, and we don't really have the regrets. And they beat us by having a better team or a better play in the moment, and we can live with that.
Saturday against Charleston is Senior Day. What have these seniors done for the squad in their time here?
Well, I mean, it's a small class and only one guy for 4 years, so Blake is the epitome of the success story, I guess. Came in kind of more as a walk-on local kid, not highly touted, and we just weren't sure because we hadn't seen him play enough against high-level competition. Although he did his best to travel for club soccer, but he was the type of kid that just took everything you said to heart and worked on it in the off season and got better and better. And after not playing his first 2 years, just really kind of started to shine last year, and just has been a focal point of our team offensively and defensively because he gets his head on the ball for set pieces and he's good at directing balls back across for assists and scoring, even against Wheeling. So he's been awesome for us, and we're happy that it worked out the way it did for him. And then Ala and Sam, Ala didn't even get to play much at all last year. Barely. I bet if you put his numbers together, was less than one game, just because of all his injuries. And this year he's been a good focal point of the holding midfielder, just being the pivot player, good on the ball, switching the point of attack. Sees the game well. So he's had a very good season for us. It's just unfortunate we only really got one good year out of him. And Sam, unfortunately for him too, a lot of injuries up and down in and out of the lineup. But when he's on, he's very active. He's technical on the ball. He can provide offense. He's got a good left foot. So he's always had a good attitude about it, even when he's just struggling to play because of the injuries. He's just still always on the bench. You can hear him and keeps the guys going, and when he's on the field, it just looks like he's having fun, which is, hopefully can be contagious sometimes to the other guys.
Coach Keith Burns, thanks so much for the time. Looking forward to this week.
Thank you.
Back here on the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. My name is Fielder Dennis, here with Coach Brian Parker, talking women's soccer. Coach is split this week with a 2-1 win in overtime over West Lib, then a loss to Notre Dame on Saturday. What were the differences in your estimation between the two matches?
Well, it looks like our sort of yin and yang season is continued. This is a pretty interesting reflection of the up and down nature of our season and what it seems like is for this entire conference, to be honest, because there's a lot of teams have experienced this. So Wednesday, terrific effort much more composure, more thoughtful. Really try to connect passes, keep the ball on the floor, basically try to play more of our style. Um, home game compared to their home game, obviously they were charged up and play with a ton of energy in the first match. But to sort of avenge, a 3-0 away loss, which really stunned us at the time, I was pretty excited, of course. And Brooke Shahidi is a special player, we know, and if we're going to win a game in overtime, she's probably going to be involved, and is a special player that can do things like that. So we're thrilled about that, and the emotion of it is awesome. Um, Contrast that with Saturday. Senior day, there's plenty of emotions involved in that. We're clearly rotating around in the lineup and playing lots more players, which was fine. I think the upperclassmen did terrific, and I was happy to see everyone play. But we did not have that composure and that thoughtfulness, and I think a lot of it is credit to Notre Dame. Obviously, a very athletic team, very physical team, comes after you a bit, contests everything, does give you very little time on the ball. But our ability to sort of process when we have time, when we don't have time, how to respond to the pressure, just having confidence with the ball and really forcing us, to play a more patient and thoughtful game, really, takes a lot of discipline, I guess, and we didn't show enough of that Saturday for sure.
In the West Liberty match, Haiti sent the Hilltoppers packing after an incredible left-footed strike, and you mentioned the emotions. A pretty emotional week last week. What emotions were going through your mind when that shot landed in overtime against West Liberty?
Well, we know that Brooke has had a recovery year, so to speak, and is
Right.
back on the board and feeling
Resurgence.
confident. And resurgence is a great word. She's just really capping off her career in the right kind of way. So of course we're thrilled for her, and it's what every forward wants to do, is to be the responsible, one who's going to do what we need to do, right? It's about scoring goals, and you're a forward. So absolutely thrilled for her, and it was a special strike and at a special moment. Clearly a heartbreaking, result for West Liberty, but again an opportunity for us to really take a step forward in our goal to get into the conference playoffs. So thrilled for Brooke, and I hope she got a few more in her.
In the match, Abby Dennis scored for the second time this season. How has she evolved from being a center back last year? She moves outside, and now she's finding the back of the net by going in the air.
Well, in the women's game, if you have players who are confident, want to win high balls, can judge flighted balls well, and have the right technique, they're going to score. We haven't necessarily had that player this year, and Abby has kind of volunteered, to get in there and mix it up, and luckily she's able to do that. So, again, real good credit to her. It's many teams have big, strong center backs who come up on free kicks at every level. They don't always cash in, but it certainly is nice that she's able to influence the game in a totally different way than she probably expects as a center back. So, awesome for her, and credit to her willingness to do that.
On Saturday, you scored quickly with Brooke, but couldn't find the net again. What did the first goal show you that was kind of taken away as the game progressed?
Well, again, when we are thoughtful and composed and actually, execute the game plan and passing patterns that we do rehearse very often, then we can execute. Marley Copes played 3 or 4 really good final balls. She did that on the goal for Brooke. She put Brooke in another chance beautifully onto her better left foot, and Brooke blazed it right into the keeper. So there were other chances available to us in the game. Notre Dame's athletic and tough and somewhat organized, and so they weren't going to make it easy for us by any means, but we did actually pull them apart and get the quality, final passes we wanted, but didn't cash in at the right times. And, you let a quality team that's athletic hang into the match. Their first goal was very, very good. The second one was a little more random, but they're a tough physical team, and they've had good success in this conference, and I guess they showed it on Saturday.
Saturday was senior day at FSU, and just talk about what these seniors have left, what their imprint was on the program, and going forward, I guess, rather looking back at their career and their time here.
Well, everyone has a story, and they're all a little bit different. Emily Faustus kind of was gifted to us as a transfer, and Erica Allen came to the program late. So examples of great teammates and great students here who found us in different ways. Obviously, Brooks, a 4-year player who scored a lot for us. Becca Phillip is a great sort of conscience of the team, and she's an environmentalist and into wildlife conservation. So they all have varied interests, and Gwen is a rock star student, so is Riley Learn. Jess Dunnigan has been a great player. So they all have brought a little something different to the mix, and I think a lot of players who go through this transition are going to have a lot of stories to tell. We went from one conference to another. The travel's different, obviously. The scholarship model is being implemented gradually over these few years. So a lot of things they didn't expect happened here, and they've been great ambassadors of the school and our program. And there's 2 girls in there, Riley Learn and Gwen Shem, haven't got to be in college yet, who are going to graduate,
Wow.
I think, with 4.0s. So they've set a standard for us and developed habits that are certainly to be modeled within our program. And in a lot of ways, you don't always talk about publicly, but great kids, and, I hope they have great memories.
And this seems like a really cohesive group, really, in terms of the names, an impactful group both on the field and then in the classroom. And this has been a time in my time here that the names that you're listing off, really big players and players that have had a lot of chances and a lot of created memories. I think back to a couple of the service balls that Gwen Shim plays in for goals, and Jessie Dunnigan, of course, what she does in terms of creation. Obviously, Brooke, with the goal scored, Riley Learn has had some great opportunities of playing some of the better players in both the CAC and the MEC just to fend off goal-scoring opportunities. Emily Faust came in this year, made some good saves. I mean, a lot of these players that are seniors are the ones that you mentioned the most on these broadcasts.
So you obviously want girls to, all players, I think, in every college, right? You want them to aspire to improve themselves and reach a sort of a pinnacle of their college, performance level when they're seniors, and get a little bit better every year in terms of knowledge of the game and nutrition and developing good habits and learning how to, some of it is just maturing mentally and becoming more of a leader and role model in terms of your mental toughness and your attitude and positivity. Everyone has a puzzle piece. Everyone's a piece of the puzzle. Sometimes you're the bigger puzzle piece who kind of gets the press, I guess, right? Like a Brooke Shahady type. But there are girls like, Becca Phillip and Eric Allen who are wonderful teammates and roommates and just great citizens of the community here at the college. And so fantastic ambassadors for the program. They'll be great alumni. And you just want them to have wonderful memories of having a good competitive experience here and obviously have a degree of value that they can use in the next chapter of their lives. And I think all these girls, should have that.
Their impact is felt in a multitude of ways. As we look at this week, you hit the road for Urbana and then host Charleston. What about these matches excites you here late in the season?
Well, the Wednesday game with Urbana is massive, right? Because they're right with us in the standings. They had a nice little run there in the middle of the season and got some points, and so they've put themselves in the mix. And I think it's a massive, I used this word last week with West Liberty. It's a 6-pointer.
Yeah.
They need 3, we need 3, and so if someone gets the 3 and someone doesn't, it kind of separates them. So if we're 2 points ahead of them, I think, but we have one less game to play, right? They play an extra game. So if we can get a 5-point gap on them, it's going to be hard for them to overcome that. So it's a massive game on Wednesday. It's not a game we need to get into the conference tournament, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close to that. Right. We had a great performance the first time we played them, but they are way better. It looks like they've got better. Some players recovered from illness and injury, and they just took Fairmont to overtime on Sunday. So
wow.
They are scrappy and athletic, and we need to really play well up there if we want to get those 3 points. But that's the massive in the Northern Division game. Charleston is from the South. They're fighting for their lives in the 3-4 spot in the Southern half. So they're obviously desperate for points, and so coming here will be an important game for them. Maybe more important for them than us at that stage, depending on how Wednesday goes. But this is the business end of the season.
That's right.
We've got 9 points on the table and with 3 games to go, and we're going to definitely need 3, possibly 4, maybe 6 even. To make sure we get into the postseason. So we don't want to wait to be needing points against Fairmont, and on their senior day on the last Saturday. But it may come to that. We'll see. But Wednesday's a massive game with Urbana.
Coach Parker, thank you for the time. I've enjoyed talking to you and looking forward to the matches this week.
Thanks very much.
Back here on the Bobcast, presented by the Bobcat Sports Network. This is episode 9 of the 2019-2020 academic calendar school season, and we're talking cross country here. Fielded us alongside Coach Shane Brookshire. Coach, cross country season wrapped up Saturday at the MEC Championships, where the men finished 5th and Braxton Clark received accolades. How was the run overall in your experience?
Oh, it was an excellent run by the team. Like I expected them to get fifth place after Lock Haven. That's kind of where I figured we would end up at, just based off of how West Liberty had ran and how like the other schools in the conference have been running too. And so having that fifth place finish, I think, was a great motivator for the team. Like gave them some confidence for next year to kind of see like where they're at in the conference. Like, and we're about middle of the pack, like not too far behind uh, the top teams, but also not really close to the teams behind us. And so we definitely have some work to do for next year, but like the team ran great. Like Braxton Clark made some great moves late in the race to earn that final spot for the all-conference accolade. And then Jake Rickards and Daniel Foster like made some big moves throughout the race, like just trying to catch guys. And Daniel Foster caught 3 guys from Fairmont in the last 2 miles of the race, like so that definitely helped us move up some. Lorenzo Wilson, Devin Horseman Guy, Tim Wolodkin, like they both, like all 3 of them ran real strong, and like Tim finishing not too far behind Daniel, and Lorenzo Wilson locking it up for us in 5th, and Devin coming in shortly after that. Like, I mean, it was definitely a great race for the team. Like, looking forward to see what they can accomplish in track season.
And the environment at the MEC Championships this Saturday, what was that like being around the teams, obviously in the conference, running the course? What did you see from that experience?
With having teams like Charleston, Davidson Elkins, I mean, Charleston's ranked 17th in the country. Like, Davidson Elkins is regionally ranked and probably not too far behind Charleston, honestly. Like, and then Concord and West Liberty, like having that kind of competition for us is definitely a huge motivator. Like, give it that big meat feel, even though there was only about 60-something guys in the race. And so I think like moving forward, like these guys are going to be excited about going to the Mountain East Championships every year.
What was the most noticeable thing, we'll talk big picture here, about the season in terms of progression as it went on?
They just kept getting better. Like, and as they got faster, they got more confident in themselves. I mean, they came in from last year running kind of mediocre times. Like, I mean, I wasn't quite too sure what I was going to have to work with when I took over, and just looking at their marks from previous years, like they weren't that great. And then just watching these athletes progress over the last or over the 10 weeks that we had practices, like they went from those mediocre times to running like solid D2 level times, and they definitely progressed great throughout the year. Like, and then like every race, it just seemed that their confidence was going higher and higher. Like especially in Braxton Clark, who came in with the PR 27:40, and his PR is now 26:15. And Jake Rickards, like I mean, PRing for the first time in 4 years, like since his freshman year. Like Lorenzo Wilson running a PR, Tim Wolodkin missing his PR by 27 seconds. Like, I mean, these guys, they responded well to the training, and then having some of the freshmen step up and the newcomers to the team, like Devin Horseman Guy and Brendan Thomasilny, like they also responded well. And so, like, we've really set the foundation for the track season now. And like, even though like we didn't probably didn't get as fast as to what some of us had wanted, like break the PRs that we wanted to get. Like, I think we laid a great foundation for track season to where these guys are going to run some remarkable times this year.
And on the women's side, it was just a struggle to get a team together this season. And then by the end of it, you're having some runners make some impressive times. What can you say about their progression on the women's side, and going forward, what can they build?
Like, you know, they worked hard throughout the season, like, and they had a tough circumstance just not having a team. Like, I mean, having some people quit like before the season got started, some people quit during the season. Like, I mean, like it might have been necessary for those people to quit, like for us to move forward as a team. And but these ladies, like, they did work hard. Like, I know they didn't end the conference meet like they had wanted, and like we had wanted, but like they were in a much tougher circumstance than the guys were, just because they didn't have the motivation of having a team, and like no leadership on the women's side. And so moving forward with them, I mean, we're just going to try to recruit and try to bring in about 10 to 15 women for next year and just have a clean slate. And I think as long as I can get the athletes in here that can handle the training, that can up their mileage, like the women are going to be doing some impressive things next year, just like the men have done this year.
How would you describe the season looking back?
For me, it was like I'm extremely pleased. Like it was a remarkable season. Like they impressed me because, as I said, like I didn't know what to expect when I came on. Like I looked at their times on TFers and was kind of wondering what I was getting myself into with it, and like so I just trusted my training plan. Like based it around what they had told me in their one-on-ones on what they'd done over the summer, and just tried to do something basic and simple, and like hope for the best. And like I said, like they responded well to the training. Like I mean, we kept everything simple, like just very simple workouts, repeats, intervals, like easy runs, and but it was a remarkable season to see almost everybody out there PR. Like, and the one person that didn't ran a season best. And so, like, when you have that kind of a year where people are dropping times, and like, regardless of what they run at conference, like, I mean, we had a great season. Like, it was a lot more ups than there were downs. Like, hardly any downs really, and like, so I couldn't be more proud of how this team performed.
What traits do you want to see both teams gain for next year? Like, what traits would you say would be important stepping stones going forward?
Team unity. Like, we definitely need to work on our team unity, like running together as a team, like at practices, like in races, like showing up looking like a team at races, like that's the biggest thing. Like, I mean, if we show up looking like a high school team, like then we're going to run like a high school team. Like, how you look is a big is extremely important to how you perform. Like my motto has always been look fast, run fast. And so if you look like you're ready to compete, if you look like you're ready to compete at a high level, like then you're going to compete at that level. Like so we need to work on the team unity, like running together as a team, working together as a team, like being a little bit more serious about our warm up too, like making sure that it's done 15 minutes before the start of the race, like instead of kind of bleeding over like to about 5 minutes before the start of it, like just being a little bit more prepared. And so like that's something that we're going to be working on like during the off season now, like and working on like going through track season, and hopefully by next cross country season, I mean we come in looking like a team that deserves to win a championship.
Who do you look forward to having grow in the program for the next few years?
Honestly, I think Daniel Foster and Jaden Morley are going to be growing like quite a bit after this first year. Like as soon as I can get some mileage in them, I mean Daniel ran extremely well with limited mileage over summer, and Jaden, he's more of a 400, 800 type guy, and like he also wasn't able to get mileage in during due to his schedule over summer. But like if they can get some solid mileage in them, like I mean, we could see Daniel running times that Braxton's running right now, like or even faster. Like Jaden could be running times that Jake's running this year, and so those guys over the course of 4 years, like are probably going to be the top two distance runners. And if they can get the mileage in, like, and now that Devin Horseman Guy has a year of cross country under him, like, I could see all four, like, or all three of them, right up there with Braxton, like, and so, like, I mean, unfortunately, we're losing three seniors out of our top five now, but I think if Devin and Jaden can both put together some performances, then put together some great training over summer, then they're going to be right there with Braxton, and like we're going to have a solid pack more towards the front of the race.
The entire season, every Bobcast, we've almost had a question about Braxton Clark every week. I have one for you here. He obviously had a stellar season. You've spoken about him at the EBC Championships. How does this quality season translate to track and field for next year, or moving forward?
So one season builds into the next, and so the cross country season goes into the track season, to where what you do in cross country, like how you train during that time, you actually reap the benefits during the track season. And vice versa, like the speed that you get from track translates over to cross country, and that's how you get faster in cross country. Cross country makes you stronger for track makes you faster for cross. And same way my coach did it in college when I ran was she just molded us into track athletes. And I mean, that's my plan for him is we're going to work on a little bit more speed work for him. He definitely has some speed in him, even though he's more of a 5K, 10K type. I honestly think this year, for track season, that he's going to go under 15 minutes for the 5K. I mean, he's got the mileage, he's got the willpower for it, and he's got the leg speed. And so if we can just fine tune all that, I think he can definitely be under 15.
Coach Shane Brookshire, thanks for joining us here on the Bobcast talking cross country. We'll get more into that next season, but you're not getting away from us yet because we've got indoor, outdoor, track, and field here coming up. But thank you for the time this season, talking cross country. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.